Hello. Okay, this is looking a little bit wonky. Let me change my picture a minute. Gosh, you'd think by now I'd have had these things sorted, really, wouldn't you? But there you go. Oh my goodness.
Okay,
hold on.
this is looking a little bit
right. Helps, of course, if you don't have YouTube open when you go live. So, hi! Honestly, you can't, with me, it's every week, isn't it? Every time I come on live, whether it's YouTube, on Zoom, on all the things, there's always something that goes a little bit strange, and every time it's something new. It's not like I can suddenly change it and it works, but like, oh no, every time. Hi Karen. So good evening to everybody. Welcome. Hopefully you can hear me and now see me. And we are going to go on a little compositional journey. So hi Andrew. So hopefully you will enjoy this. We're going to have a look at some compositions by other artists, just to explain some of the points I'm going to make. And then we are going to draw a landscape. Now, I did this recently in Stony Stratford for the Stony Stratford Art Association. I've spent the last couple of weeks in the UK, so I've been out and about and all over. So if you've seen me and come and said hello, hi, it's been lovely to meet you. And this, I actually did it as a bit of an interactive session, and it was really, really good fun. It was a little bit, you know, it could, you know what I'm like, it could have gone either way, and it actually turned out really nicely. So I'm just looking for some charcoal and some pencils and things, which is what I am going to use today. I have some handy. I've been playing with some Nitram charcoal. So this is new to me. Normally I just play with soft willow charcoal, but I've been on a course with Raw Umber Studios over the week, last week, looking at life figure drawing and they suggested using Nitram charcoal. So it's similar to willow charcoal, but it's just that little bit harder, a bit more compressed. So it's actually really nice because it doesn't get quite as messy and as all over your hands as willow charcoal does. So I thoroughly enjoyed using it and playing with it for 3 days, brushing up on my observational skills, just relearning those processes, because it's like everything. You learn things, you practice it, you keep going on your own journey, and then sometimes it's really good to go back and refresh those basics again. And we all need to do that, whether you're a professional artist or in the beginning stages or wherever you are on your art journey. So I'm a professional artist. I absolutely take art courses regularly just to up my knowledge, practice, and generally have a refresh of my techniques. And then I obviously part all my knowledge to the Smart Art Academy. So enough preamble. We're 5 minutes in, so I'm going to get going. So what makes a good composition and a good landscape composition? That is a good choice. Now, I was planning on being able to put up on the screen, like I do, some fancy like Derwent charcoal blocks. Yes, Karen, they are like Derwent blocks. The key is, we'll discuss materials very briefly. The key with them, which I hadn't anticipated, I'm just getting my little sharpener out, which this is a posh sharpener. Sandpaper will do, to be fair. And what you can do with it is you sharpen it to a point. So I'm just going to, this is a Nitram block, and I'm just going to sharpen it down. So you just sort of press on it, roll it on this sandpaper board. Do not lose the extra charcoal dust that this generates, because you can use charcoal dust in your drawings, because I mean, you pay a fortune for this stuff, don't you, in a jar? Well, you can just use your filings. So I've got some filings here, and I'm going to pop that in a handy container. I don't have any handy container. I'm going to put it down very gently over here, and then I will tip it into a little jam jar, and that will give me some charcoal dust to use. But now we have a nice point, you see, and that means that we can use our charcoal with a bit of precision. So we should be using this as well. So yes, so I was going to have lots of pictures on the screen, and basically I lost the little doobry that holds my camera onto the camera arm. And so, oh gosh, and so I spent quite some time looking for that and didn't have time to put the pictures on. However, I have some postcards here, so I will put them on my camcorder-y thing, and I will discuss them. Because what we're looking at, like I say, is landscapes and landscape compositions and building our landscape. So let me turn over to my Camlink. Any point in this, as Karen just did there, ask any questions you want to know in the chat. I will happily answer them. This recording will be available for 10 days on my YouTube channel, and then it gets whisked off over very discreetly into my Smart Art Academy, where people can look at it whenever they wish. Right, so let me put my camcorder on. I'm going to put my little circle camera on. Hello. That way I can still do all the hand gestures and you'll be able to see me. I'm going to put some light on that paper so that we can see it a bit better. Right, so I can see what we're doing. So this is a master copy that I painted in oils of a painting by a chap. I'm just going to change this around so it looks a little bit more straight on your screen. That's better. A gentleman called Shishkin, and he's a Russian painter, or he was a Russian painter in the 1800s. I'm just going to change this lighting around so it's a bit better for the pictures. Is that better? Nah, I'm getting shadow. That's a bit better maybe. And what I love about this is the use of light. So what he's got is he's got movement. So you've got a path that's moving in. Your eye is then directed to this light patch here. And then we head off to this light patch here. So our eye is moving around the composition. And that's a real key thing to think about when you're looking at your composition. What is your eye drawn to? Now, humans, I'm saying humans, most people, I mean, other things other than humans might also, do you know, I'm brushing a mark on here. It's actually on my screen. I really should wash my laptop window. So with all people's eyes are drawn to the lightest thing. So in this case, our lightest part here is this path. So our eye is instantly drawn to this lightest area here. We then kind of bounce our attention off this dark and head up to the next lightest point, which is this little strip of grass that's catching the sunlight. And we kind of bob along this dark boundary and head up to the next lightest point. And that's really interesting too, because you've got these clouds and this nuance. And our eye travels kind of round and back into the picture again. And then you've got some little details in the foreground that are also light. So that's where our eyes drift to next. But you'll note the dark shapes. There's not a lot of detail in those dark shapes. And that's because our eyes kind of bounce off but don't look into dark areas. We look into light areas. And that's something that's just inherent within us. So a good composition has this traveling effect around the composition. The other thing you'll note is his horizon line is not halfway. So our eyes also like to see things in halves, and we tend to, sorry, I'm just adjusting this to make it a bit clearer, and we try, and our brain is always tidying things up into nice neat shapes, but in doing so it loses a bit of interest, and so we don't linger, we just kind of go, oh, okay, and kind of off. So having things that aren't symmetrical, so things like there's a branch here that's off on a slight angle, there's another one here at this angle, this one's going up and then tilted slightly, so it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy, and that makes for a really nice composition too, along with contrast and different shapes. So we've got a large dark shape here, we've got a large dark shape here, we've got a reasonably small shape here. We've got little bits of detail. So that's some of the things we're looking at. I'm doing a lot of talking this session, aren't I? So I'm going to do another example of this. So this is Monet, and this is the Populars. This was painted in, let me just see what your wonderful National Gallery postcard says, 1891. Now he could have just drawn a line of trees very symmetrically, but that wouldn't have been very interesting. So think about what we were saying earlier. Our eyes are drawn to the lightest point, which is kind of these clouds in between these trees. And so our eye kind of comes here and then it kind of travels round the tree line and back round again. And so it makes this wonderful composition where our eye is looking around to see what's happening. And although these trees are in a line, they're not evenly spaced. So there's differences there. And that again makes for a more interesting composition. And the horizon line is way down here. So in a lot of traditional landscapes, the horizon will be at 40% or 60%. Up here, it'll either be sort of like here or here. It'll be higher if you're concentrating on the land, lower if you want to have a really lovely sky. So this one's very low down and we're concentrating on this amazing Populars line of trees. Conversely, this painting is by, now I'm going to get this very wrong, Axili Gallian Calella. Is a Finnish painter, and I've recently been in Finland and I absolutely love, and this is very much in the colours of the Finnish flag as well, and it absolutely screams Finland to me. But look at the composition. Very similar to Monet's Populars. You've got this movement that's taking your eye up the painting. We've got these lovely contrasting light shapes. We've got this dark area here with trees, which has very little detail in. In fact, there's very little detail at all in this, apart from maybe a little bit of instinctive markings. And this is actually quite a small painting in real life. I saw it in the National Gallery earlier this year, no, late last year. And it's really, really interesting because you've got this movement, like I say, heading around the painting. And look at that horizon line. So after saying 60-40, this one's at about 90%. We're all about the water here. But if we compare the two, really interesting because they're using the same technique in compositionally to guide your eye, but in completely different ways. So here we're looking at the sea guiding our eyes up, looking at the skyline, which is then taking us back down again. With Monet, we're looking at these trees and we're going up and around the trees. Interesting that they've used very similar techniques here at 10% horizon line, here at a 90% horizon line. So I just thought I'd put those in because I thought they were very interesting. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to mark where you can see on the paper so that I don't trundle off when I'm doing this design. There's nothing on the screen as far as anything to copy because we're not copying. This is going to be very exciting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hope there are people on live. I know we have Karen and Andrew live, which is wonderful. If there's anybody else live, please do say so in the chat because I am going to be asking you to help. I'm just going to do this, this line at the top a little bit straighter because I think my paper is a little bit skew-whiff and I'm going to tape it to the top because it is moving around. She says, finding some tape. Let me just tape that to the top of my board a little bit, and it's not wriggling around all over the place. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm blocking out my square. I'm going to try and make it so that it looks square in this camera field, which is slightly off kilter a little bit, but okay, that's reasonably straight. So I've just put lines in place just to say, right, this is where my my borders are. This is where my design edges. So quite often when I've got a piece of paper, I will put tape down and just mark out exactly where my borders are. So we're going to design a landscape. And we're going to put mountains in our landscape. The reason why we're going to put our mountains in our landscape is because it helps give a bit of perspective. We can talk about what happens when things are further away and nearer to us. And also mountains are our focus in the Smart Art Academy in April, which if you are wishing to join the Smart Art Academy, you'll be able to come along to the live call, which is a week on Tuesday, and join in, which will be awesome sauce. Right, so everyone who's live and who is available to chat, the first question I would like you to do, because like I say, we're going to design this together, is where would you like your horizon line? We can have it 60%, 40%, 90%, 10%, not 90% if we're going to put mountains in. Let's not do that. I'm thinking maybe 60 or 40. So what do you think? I'm going to give a couple of minutes to deal with, jet lag. It's not jet lag at all, is it? It's the timing lag between me talking and then it arriving on YouTube and then people going, oh my goodness, I have to type something, and figuring out where on earth the chat button is. If you're subscribed to my channel, of course, you have the ability to say things in the chat. I need to sign in to be able to answer you in chat, and I'm not going to do that because I will probably disrupt the whole feed. Karen says 40%. First in, Karen, you're going to be the one I go with. So 40%. So 50% is about here. So I am going to do, Andrew has also said 40%. Oh, a consensus. I like it. So I'm going to put in my horizon line. I'm just going to draw a line at 40%. Now, if I was preparing, this is going to be like a giant thumbnail. So if I was, this would be like a proprietary drawing before I do a painting. When I'm doing a painting, I cheat. When I'm doing a line, I will absolutely put a ruler down or place some tape across so that when I shade above or below, I've got a nice, exactly straight line when I'm looking. It's especially good if I'm looking at horizons with water or anything like that. I don't want it kind of wobbly because that doesn't work quite as much. So if I have an initial straight line, then I can work with that. So we now have a 40-degree line. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to put some mountains in. Now, don't copy along with this bit because I'm going to do something deliberately wrong first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mountain in, and I'm going to put it in about here, and I'm going to put one on the other side as well, about there. So I've got my two mountains. What's the first thing that we can say that's a bit wrong with that? Well, I will let you know because I will let you know. Firstly, we have got three shapes up here that are pretty much exactly the same. The fact that there are three is good. That makes things a little bit more interesting than two. However, that in itself is a bit meh. And that's because it's three things the same. So what we can do to change this is grab some kitchen towel. Kitchen towel is my preferred method of blending. And I'm just going to take one of those lines out because we're also going into a center point here. And that kind of guides your eye in, but then we're just kind of heading off and out the painting. So there's no reason to come back into the painting. And if you notice with the populars and all the others, there's reasons to come back into the painting. So I'm going to take these lines out. I'm going to put this hill slightly lower down. I'm going to make it quite dramatic coming down here. I am then going to maybe put maybe we can have this is going to be a nearer hill, so maybe we can have a bit more interest in this hill. Maybe it's got a bit of steps to it. That makes it a bit different. And maybe it kind of drifts off and overlaps. Overlapping is a really nice tool to have. We may have a third hill, but it might be coming in over this way here. There may even be a fourth hill back here. So now we've got some interesting movement happening, and we've got different sized shapes. Shapes are always good. And we've got a foreground. At the moment, our foreground is very kind of static. So this is still our initial plan. So what can we do to lead our eye into this mountainous district? Any ideas? Again, I'm going to now be quiet for a minute. When we were doing this in Stony Stratford, I asked this question, and there was all sorts of really, most of them really cool ideas. And there were a couple left field ones, which is always useful. It's nice to have something to, like I say, to lead your eye. What do you think we should do? I'm being really mean here, aren't I? Because I genuinely have no idea how many people are watching. So it could be that we have Karen and Andrew and they're sat there going, a stream. Oh, Karen, excellent idea. Oh, do you know, in Stony Stratford, they went a viaduct. Yeah, okay, no. We could have a viaduct. That's good. I'm going to go with stream rather than viaduct. The left field in Stony Stratford was sheep. That may still be added. So I'm going to do a little stream, and I'm going to make my stream kind of meander around, almost like a path, but it's not going to be a path, is it? It's going to be a stream. So the one thing that we'll note is when things are closer to you, they're bigger. If it's a lake in the foreground, an island, excellent choice, Andrew. Yes, that could have been good as well, because we could have put that kind of here, which would have been interesting. However, we have a stream. So this is how you get in there quick with your chat fingers. But yes, a lake, if it's a lake in the foreground, an island would look good, just like in the painting that we saw, the finished painting. So we've got a stream going on. And that's now going to lead our eye. We're now going to wander around these mountains. We may well put some clouds or something up here just to bring things back round again. So we now have some interesting shapes happening. In fact, what I may do with this is take this out and put this one in. And now we've got that. The great thing about using charcoal or pencil with your compositions is you can move things about. Now we're going to start with this bit and mass in some shapes, some darks and some tones before we do anything in a foreground. So what I'm going to do with my Nitram charcoal, get me, is I'm going to just put very lightly a light covering of charcoal on these hills. And I'm going to do the same on all of the hills, because these are all going to be background. So I don't want too much detail, but I want them to be kind of there. So I've got some background happening. I also need to know where my light is coming from, because that's going to make a huge difference when we come to our shading. So off screen, I'm going to draw a little sunshine here. I do this regularly, and I know people in my academy hear me talk about this. I will put a little post-it note or something to remind myself what direction my light is coming from. That way I can easily see where my lights and darks are. So what I'm going to do now is just blend this in. So the paper I'm using is a paint-on paper. I like this because it grips the charcoal a bit, and because often with smooth like cartilage paper or Bristol paper, it becomes very smooth. So this you can keep some texture in, and it grips the charcoal a bit. So now you can see we've got I've kind of obliterated most of it, and I've kind of gone over the edge a bit, but that's fine, because I'm going to put a little bit of sky in there as well. And I'm just going to put a light dusting over the sky, just so that we can then pull out some highlights for clouds, etc. In a minute. I've managed to get a dark line in there. I will end up probably putting a cloud in there so it doesn't look weird. Right, so we now have masked in some shapes. Now, when we're looking at composition and we're looking at landscapes in particular, things that are further away are kind of pushed back, so they become lighter. So this, because this, I redrew that hill to come over in front of it. This hill is our lightest hill because that's furthest away. So I'm not going to put anything more colour-wise on that hill. In fact, when I'm doing some clouds, I'm going to kind of pull it over the edge so we don't have this edge that I've got on there. In fact, I'm going to find my putty rubber and see if I can take some of that off because I was quite heavy-handed with my charcoal initially when I drew that line. So I'm just going to try and take some of that off, which of course it's not going to, is it? But I will play with that and just kind of take that away a bit. Now this is our middle one. So this is our next furthest away, if you see what I mean. So I'm just going to put maybe a little bit of dusting of charcoal on there just to see that that is just a little bit nearer. And now instantly you can see this one is looking like it's been pushed back. This one is coming forward. So dark things, things that are in more focus, they bring themselves forward. So if I made that darker and really put loads of detail in this mountain back here, all of a sudden it would look like that was my focal point, and it would look really strange because it doesn't work well. So now that I've got this dark, that has to be my second lightest tone. I'm just going to smudge it a little bit more. So that needs to be my second lightest tone. So this needs to be my third. So I'm going to put a bit more charcoal on here. Again, this is a thumbnail sketch. This isn't a painting, so I'm not being accurate here. I'm getting an idea for composition. This may be a composition that I may use later in a painting. But you try out, this is what I kind of use my sketchbook and things for. It's trying out ideas, seeing what happens. I'm just going to put the little lines in there going the other way as well because I'm looking a little stripy. That's because I'm using compressed charcoal in the Nitrum compressed, which is, like I say, a lovely charcoal. Right, so I now have, this is slightly darker and it is effectively coming even more forward. This is our closest mountain. So I'm going to make this darker again. I'm just going to put a little layer on there and again blend. So now we're looking like we've got a bit of perspective happening with these mountains. Now it's not looking, you know, all one tone. So now we've got our background just gently masked in. We're not going to do too much detail in here. We might put a little bit in with our highlights later, but essentially we're going to leave them pretty much. I'm just trying to get rid of that line to make it look as if that's definitely not, you know, there we go. Just get these edges in just a little bit more. So we now can see things are working a little bit differently. I'm going to change the shape of this to make it so that it's, there we go. Okay. So we've now got a definite mountain that's in the foreground, and then we've got mountains overlapping heading towards the back. Now our foreground is where we're going to have detail and where we're going to have the darkest darks. So again, I'm going to start by massing in dark all over. I might actually get my willow charcoal out because Nitrum charcoal is great, but for this, a bit of willow actually works a lot better and quicker. So I'm just going to mass in some darks all the way over and over our stream. Don't worry, we will be bringing the stream back. So this is now just blocking in our foreground roughly. So we've got some tone down there just to start working our details in. I'm going to pop that stream back in. Just the outline of it. So now we've got our rough idea, our rough plan of what we want our landscape to look like. So we need a little bit more interest, I feel, in here. So we've got this stream that's curving round. We've got some mountains. We've got this kind of shape now is all blending in as one because this close mountain is quite close to the tone of our foreground. So I want to have something maybe a little detailed in our foreground. So back to my audience, guys. Those of you who are subscribed to my channel can make comments here. What shall we have as our foreground feature? Bearing in mind we are a landscape, so please do not put a city block. Enter the 10B pencil again. Absolutely, Andrew. Yes, I really do need to get a 10B pencil. So, foreground. We can have shrubs. We can have trees. We can have all sorts of things, rocks. Like I say, I'm saying, bearing in mind this is landscape, I do not want a tower block flats here or a playground or things. If you want to do that in your own compositions, absolutely crack on. This is not a competition to see whether we can get Sue to draw something really, really weird live on TV, which did actually happen to Artistic Wren Says Rocks. Thank you. This is where Stony Stratford said, how about a style? To have a style, we'll need a fence, which we could do. Rocks is a definite. Stony Stratford, bless their hearts, we started with rocks and trees, and then we got down to what type of tree, and then what season is it in, as to what the tree looked like. It got very complicated very quickly. There was mention of a mouse, there were 3 sheep, and then ended up with some walkers. They had a path, not a stream. You've got a stream, so you can't have walkers. Yes. So we've got rocks and we've got a style so far. Do carry on putting things in the chat, and also if you have any questions with what I'm doing or landscape compositions in general, do let me know. So we've got a style coming in. Now, to have a style, I need something to put the style on, because just to have a style randomly in the middle of a stream or in the middle of a field would look a bit odd, really, wouldn't it? So to get a style, I want some kind of wall. I would have a wall probably near my stream. I'm thinking about how this would work. We can have some rocks are easy-ish, because some nice rock shapes, you can have some nice sort of boulder shapes. Rocks are basically geometric, so we can have some nice kind of rock-like shapes, bearing in mind they need a flat bottom because of course they are on the ground. We're not having rocks flying through the air. Shrubs and foliage. We can absolutely do shrubs and foliage. We're going to maybe have a rock in the stream. That would be quite fun. We could have stepping stones. Sorry, getting carried away there. So we could have a number of rocks kind of just in this stream as a stepping stone thing. That's quite cool, because that would indicate that there's a path happening too. So we could have some rocks and shrubs, etc. around here, and we could maybe have the curve of a wall. Oh, by the way, hi, I'm Carol, new here. Oh, hi, Carol. Good to see you. I do like seeing new people. It's great. I like seeing all people, I hasten to add. So we're going to, Carol has said the style idea. So we're going to have a wall at the edge of a field, and it's going to have style in it because of course we've got stepping stones now and our rocks going across the across the stream. So I might have another rock down here, actually. My rocks all tend to be kind of that shape. But we've got our wall can go here. So let's get rid of that rock a moment. But we want a style. Now I'm thinking I want the style there. But then that's not really, we can't really see the style. So let me take that out. Let's have a corner of our wall maybe. So when you're drawing walls and perspective, your verticals are always vertical. Your lines going off into the distance kind of converge, but your verticals in most planes, unless you're doing 4 dimensions, are upright. So we can have so converging lines. So our inside of our wall would look like that, for example. So let's have our stream is going to come down here now. I'm going to change the direction of my stream a little bit, just to give us some idea of a style. I'm now trying to think what the hell a style looks like. Right, so we can have a wall style. So on wall styles, they kind of dry stone walls. They kind of go like that, and then there's kind of steps in the wall in order for people to get over. The great thing about dry stone walls is they are a bit higgledy-piggledy. So we can have an indication of the top of a wall coming down here. This wall can head over, and we can just have some general. This can be all dark because that's part of that wall that's coming over there. It's so fun when people give random ideas. So we've got a bit of a style coming over our wall there. We're going to stick it out a little bit so it looks a bit more obvious. With walls and things like that, you don't want to put too much detail. Less is always more when it comes to art, because we like to be able to make things up. Our brain likes to have things to do, and having a painting where you've got things to do and things to think about makes it more interesting. I'm going to have that a little bit more as if it's going into the distance way more than it looks there. So that's really stretching out into the horizon there. So we've got a little bit of a style. I hope that's okay style-wise. See what I did there? And I'm going to put a little bit of shading on these rocks. So I'm going to put another little rock in the grass there, and you can just see part of it. We are going to be putting some shrubs and foliage in, Andrew. I have not forgotten your request. So we might have some little things kind of creeping over the edge of our wall going off into the background, some brambles maybe. These are just really, really little kind of squiggly lines almost. Our stream at the moment doesn't look much like a stream either. So again, I'm thinking where my light is coming from. So we've got shade coming this way. So this is going to be darker on the other side of our wall because light is coming this way. Thinking about where your light is a really useful thing to do, because that will then give you an idea of where your lights and your darks go. So because our light is heading this way, this side of my stream is going to have a bit of shadow from the bank. So I'm just going to put it looks a bit like a path at the moment, but I'm just going to put some movement in this, what will be water. So how you put movement in water is you want sort of crisscrossy lines. You want to create some movement. I'm just going to blend that. I know I've just lost my stepping stones, but I will get those back in a minute. Again, thinking 3-dimensionally, we're going to get that going over here. We've got some shadow coming off this rock here. This is going to be darker because it's closer to us. So I'm going to darken this background a little bit. At the moment, as you can see, we're just doing shapes. There's no detail in here. We're just playing with shapes, darkening things up. We haven't put any highlights in yet. Nothing about this has any highlights in it. It's all a bit smudgy. We're going to put some foliage in. So we might have some brambles coming over the top of our wall. Again, just squiggles really. You don't have to draw individual leaves or stems or anything like that. You just need a kind of rough idea that something here isn't the same as what's around it. So doing something a bit squiggly next to a wall, making that a darker patch, that's now looking like a bit like foliage. With grasses, we can just pull charcoal up or pencil, whichever you happen to be using. But again, note I'm using strokes where let's try this on this part and I'll show you what I mean. Strokes that kind of go up and they're all higgledy-piggledy and different sizes, directions. You want them going lighter nearer the top, because if you observe grasses, they kind of look like that, thicker at the bottom and then they go thinner at the top. But you're wanting that to look like it's natural and there's a bit of a wind, so you've got a bit of movement going on. So we're going to do some of those at the front. We're not going to do anything like this further back because I'm just going to soften the bottom of that so it doesn't look like it's just sort of stuck on the picture. Because further back, of course, you can't see grass. It's too far away. So I'm going to put some more sort of water movement coming in here. We're going to do something super duper in a minute with our lights. So now you'll see that the front of this is, I'm going to have some really dark on this side where we've got the edge bank of that stream. And we might have some grasses growing up actually on that bank. Because then as well, we've got the contrast of things growing, things not growing. At the moment, that does look as if it could be a path as well, but we'll make it more stream-like in a minute. So now we've got some fun stuff going on in our foreground. Our middle ground is now looking a bit bare, isn't it, really? I'm going to put that wall so it goes just, you can see it going a little higher as it drops off over the edge of our horizon line. So that's another trick. See, our horizon line ended and the way I'd drawn the wall had just ended as well. By putting it going up and over, all of a sudden now you're telling a story of this is going down over a hill. So that instinctively your brain goes, oh, I know what's happening there, and kind of works it out. I'll put a couple little rocks in but they'll be much smaller because they're much further away. Anything that you would like to put in this middle ground? Answers on a postcard or in the chat. I will now wait for the lovely time lag that is streaming. I'm just going to soften that a little bit while we wait. So I'm thinking middle ground, just kind of here. What would you like to see? And then we're going to put some lights in, which will make everything come alive. I'm being really mean putting everybody on the spot here, aren't I? I do apologise. It's something I do a lot, but it's fun. Interacting makes things interesting, and it also makes you think a bit more rather than just copying, because you are invested in creating this piece of art. I'm going to put in some little trees while we wait for anybody in the chat. So this is a really nice thing to do because I'm going to do this on the horizon line. So things are going to be smaller on the horizon. Now, while I was in Stony Stratford, they said that they would like a tree. Well, they said they liked several trees actually. And the tree they said they wanted was a rowan, which I was like, I was expecting, you know, oak, pine, something a little bit, you know, obvious. But no, they wanted a rowan. So, and then I said, well, what season is it in? Because this makes a big difference in drawing a tree. You like the emptiness of the landscape, Lakeland fells. Yes, yes. Being a Lakeland girl myself, I hear you. There are trees in the Lakeland though, I hasten to add. But yeah, the trees are usually on a very steep angle because it's so blinking windy. So if I was doing some trees in the midground, I would kind of do them very pale at the top and just almost like dots. So you've got kind of like a trunk. You can see the main branch, but then you can't really see the others. So you can absolutely not necessarily join all the lines up. And that gives you the illusion of a tree without actually drawing the tree. I've gone and put a little bit too much detail in there. So I want it a little bit smaller than that. So I'm just going to take that back a little bit. And I'm going to maybe put some deciduous bushes, deciduous evergreen bushes, maybe some sort of hollies. And I'm going to do this so that they're not on the horizon line. So they're breaking up the horizon line. A pig pen. Thanks, Valerie. Okay, we can maybe do something like that. I love it when you get them random things to put in. Like, what the hell does a pig pen look like? Let's do these bushes first. So we've got some bushes, and I'm just putting them on the horizon line. This is nice because it gives us another dark point. So our line is drawn by the stream. It's also being drawn by this wall here, which could be a big pig pen. It isn't. So that's kind of, all those things are bringing us this way. We maybe want to actually bring things back in a bit. So this is kind of coming this way. We want to maybe bring things over here. So let me have a think. So in the little bushes that I've put over here, all I've done basically is darkened an area and made a rough shape. We've got our tree sticking up in the middle of them. There's no detail. The reason there's no real detail is because it's in the distance. It's kind of middle ground. We want some darkness in there. We don't want detail. A little bit of darkness. It needs to be lighter than our darks here. But here is where our detail, there's no real detail there. Let me think how a pig pen would work. We could have a pig shelter kind of off here, and that would maybe bring things back in this way. So that might work, Valerie. So you're always thinking about composition whenever you're planning something, thinking about how things are going to lead your eye. Where is my eye going? At the moment, my eye is going here. It's then going up here because that's the lightest thing. Remember, eyes travel to the light. So we need to put in some lights, which we're going to do in a second because we have the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to just actually, in the distance, I'm going to put a little, kind of like a little shelter on the edge of this field. I'm maybe going to turn that into a gate. But literally just a hint of, nothing more. Now we've got some interest in its building in. Ren says maybe a little bridge over the stream. Ooh, that's good. Because at the moment we've got these kind of stepping stones coming on. Although we've put loads of rock, but we could have something. What should we have? I think we'll have maybe something. I love these ideas because they keep kind of coming in. And what's good is you can see whether or not they're going to work. So I might put a little small bridge coming over as an alternative to my stepping stones. For those who aren't really keen on the stepping stones. So we want it kind of close to the stepping stones if it's an alternative, don't we? And we want it to kind of maybe come this way. I don't want to put too much detail in, simply because I'm doing this from imagination, and my imagination is thinking, how does this work? How is our bridge going to work? Is it just going to be a flat piece of board, reasonably, close to the surface of our stream? So it's nothing, I feel it wouldn't be anything too detailed, because this is in the middle of nowhere. And coming from the Lake District, that you do get random bridges, and they tend to be usually planks of wood stuck on top of some boulders. But they work, and that's all that matters. So I'm going to put a little something, just a hint of something that's that's going to be shadowed under as well, because the stream underneath there is going to be darker, because there's going to be a shadow cast by that bridge. And so you end up with something a bit like this. Again, we have not put any highlights in. So this has all been done in the dark, as it were. That's going to be dark because we've got our light coming this way. So we have a little bit of our story, our composition. That's what compositions are. They're stories. They're stories about where your eye is going. You want to leave out some details so that your viewer can go, oh, I wonder what is happening. It says, well, what's going on? What other things are happening in there? So you want to be able to give them something to go away with, to have a think about. Kind of thinking maybe those are railings. I don't know whether that bridge would have railings. Not sure. Right. So in order to make things really pop and really come alive, this is where we have our wonderful putty rubber. One thing I will do is I'm going to make this edge darker, as if there is some trees or something. I know this is a lakeland scene, Andrew. Well, it is now anyway. But I want to maybe give an idea that there's some forest just here. Note that I'm saying I'm going to give an idea of forest. Have I drawn a tree? Nope. I'm just darkening a patch of this mountain to make it look as if there's something going on there. And we might put some little scribbly texture to give an illusion of. Okay, a little bit more. You can fiddle for hours, I tell you. Right, so I've put some texture on that mountain in the back. We now have a bit of a lakeland scene. So we're now going to add our highlights. This is where things get really magical. I love this. So in the foreground, we're going to have our biggest contrasts of lights and darks. So I'm really wanting to put some lights in this stream. Now, what you can also do, there are many erasers, and this is a putty eraser. I love these because you can mold it into the shape that you want. So I really like molding it into a bit of a point, and then you can dab some lovely highlights in there. We can have the highlights coming. Oop, we don't want them in the shadow because that's underneath the bridge, but we want them after the shadow. And you can draw with your eraser, which is really nice, and you can really start putting some texture. And there'll be glints in the background too, but not as much, because obviously the detail is in the foreground, not in the background. So I'm going to put some detail, she says, having saying there's no detail in the background. I'm going to put some highlights on these trees here in the back, these shrubs. And I'm thinking, where is my sun coming through? Where do I want that light to hit? And I'm going to hit it a little bit on this rowan tree as well. So where I've got my branches in dark, I'm going to put some lights in there too. Starting to come alive. Now this mountain here is really catching the light because it's facing the light. So I want to put some lights in there to really bring it a little bit forward. So where it's catching the light, we might have a field there, for example. So it's going to be lighter where it's catching some of that light. And it's now really beginning to, like I say, get some three-dimensionality. Now the light's coming this way, so this side of the wall is going to get some light as well, just on the tops there. Let's get some light on the top of that wall. There'll be a light on the top of this sty as well. And on the just on the edge, on the very top area of this wall here, but not because this side is in the shadow. The light is here, not underneath. And we're going to have some light in our bramble that's all over this fence, to this little wall as well. So I'm going to, again, same as I did with the charcoal, the way I was dabbing it almost on, I'm going to dabbing these lights on. So now it's beginning to look a lot more three-dimensional. I'm going to put some more lights on these rocks. So again, think like if you were ever at school and you used to do the 3D writing, where you'd have above and to the left and all that sort of thing. Very same principle. You're wanting to look at where is the light coming, and you're really looking at where it hits. And it's going to hit some of these lovely grasses as well. These foliage in the front. And what you can do, again, is mould your eraser into a point and effectively draw those grasses as you would you using charcoal, and go over the edge of that rock there so that it looks like they are, like I say, catching the light and moving with you. I'll do some more rocks here. I'm just going to carve them out a little bit so that it looks just like they're just sitting up a bit. And then I'm going to just darken some of these, because when I've been using the eraser, I've lightened, and of course blending lightens things. So I want to add a bit more dark back in, certainly down the bottom area, just so that we can see where our contrasts are, because our eye is drawn to light first and also contrast. So I'm going to really darken some of those edges. Make the things that are man-made quite sharp. Because they are man-made stuff, is always has the lines. Nature doesn't have lines. So if you think as an artist, I can't be an artist, I can't draw lines. You don't need to, unless you're drawing buildings, no need. I'll put some more dark against that rock as well to give a bit of contrast. So where you get your greatest contrast is where you've got your lightest lights against your darkest darks. So now we've got a composition which is kind of rolling off into the distance. You've got some nice softness, and you can see how little detail is in that, and yet you've got a fully readable scene. I mean, I might put some clouds in, I might put some lights in that sky, because remember we darkened it a little bit. But if you just lift out a little bit of, remember clouds are three-dimensional. We did a whole section on clouds in the Art Academy, which was really useful. And I'm just going to take them over the edge of the mountain too, so that it kind of blends on in. And now we've got something that's looking really all right. Something that you guys created, I hasten to add. I'm going to put a little bit of light just in the distance on that pig pen, just on the top wall. Any questions before I wrap things up, or anything else you want randomly added? Please don't say a dormouse or a particular type of, I think it was a particular type of bird somebody mentioned last time, and I was just like, really? That's no. I'm dabbing in some clouds. If you want to learn more about the Smart Art Academy, by the way, do go to my website, which is www.suewithoutanemelville.com, and take a look. We have a sketch club. We have sketch club members and academy members on this call, which is really cool to see. I hope you guys are enjoying it. We're going to be working on mountains in April, which is going to be quite fun, actually. I've been doing quite a lot of research on fun things to do with mountains. That sounds really weird, doesn't it? But yes, lots of different techniques. Now, because this paper has kept the charcoal, we could go in with a bit of white chalk. This is a white charcoal, compressed charcoal stick. And you can also really, it doesn't work quite as well on white paper. It works great on tinted paper, but you can add in those little extra really brights and make them a little bit of a feature, which is some sparkles in this water maybe. That would be nice, have some little eddies. Hurrah for the sketch club. Yay! Thank you, Andrew. Sketch club is awesome. I love doing the sketch club. I just want people to be out and sketching all the time, and creating and using your sketchbook to do thumbnail. This is quite big, but to do thumbnail sketches like this, to plan designs and ideas, it's so much fun. The sketch club, it is fun. It is fun. If you can find it on www.suemelville.com. I don't know whether I've just pressed a random button, everybody, which is unfortunate because now I can't see the chat. Oh no! You've just closed a dockable window. No, I didn't mean to do that. Come back, dockable window. All is forgiven. Oh. What I was trying to do is type my email, my website address into the chat, but I don't know whether it'll work because I'm not signed in and it's gone all funny. So hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed this little creation of yes, it worked. Woohoo! This little creation of a landscape. Hopefully it's also sort of given you ideas, given you a bit of inspiration, and also a bit helped with some kind of rules on composition. So thinking about things overlapping, thinking about things not being in the center, and shapes different sizes. Having contrast is your key to a good composition. So you want something that's going to guide your eye in. Maybe if I put a big cloud or something here, just to guide that eye back again, to bring it back down to the front would be cool. So that's something to think about. But anyway, it is, I was going to say, just gone 9 o'clock, which will give everyone in the UK an absolute fit because I've put everything in times, in UK times. I'm not in the UK currently. I am currently in France, and it is 9 o'clock with me. It will be about 8 o'clock with you guys. You have been wonderful. Thank you for helping me create this wonderful landscape. You can, like I say, watch this for the next 10 days. Absolutely fine on my YouTube channel where you see it here. If you want to see it again after that, come join the Academy. It will be wonderful to see you there. Right, I'm going to let go and leave you all to it. And shut up, basically. Have a fabulous evening, and I will see you. Oh, if you're around on Thursday evening, I'm going to be doing another sketch along live, and I'm going to be using coffee. What happens if you really want to do a sketch and you've got nothing on you apart from your espresso? Right, that will be fun on Thursday, same time. Okay, I really will go. I really will shut up. Come join the academy, come join the sketching club, all the things. Bye. I've got to try and stop streaming now, haven't I? Okay.